Yep. Hi guys. How you doing? Here we are in the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful kitchen of John Birmingham's amazing house. Look at this. What great art this guy does. He is a true amazing artist, a real humanitarian. I have to be amazing. I'm grateful for everything John is. He's a great friend. He's really a good guy. Well, I'm getting better. I'm clapping up every little thing. Hey, Twitchy. Hey, Sunray. Anyway, so how has your day's been? John has been really great here. He's, every day he works really hard making this house better and better. It's like an amazing piece of art. It's like a heritage kind of site, historically amazing, Anyway. So it's going to be summer soon. I think the 21st is the solstice. What are your plans for the summer? I myself, the things I used to work at, I can't really do anymore. I can't really go up on ladders and roll around on the floor as an electrician. I can do a little electric work every now and then. My work with the desperate lawyers, I was replaced by an app. And that's going to be happening to more and more people. But the legal system and the medical system are any system that can be viewed from a rote, doing something over and over again. That's, where AI is going to succeed. And robots are pretty freaking amazing. I don't know if you've seen any. They're really, they can walk around like us, So, all of lawyers, judges, and police will be replaced by AI, because the robot just won't shoot somebody in the back, the robot won't, But there won't be any, trying to chat up a robot. They'll just give you that ticket and there's no way of talking your way out of it. And medical things will also be pretty much done by AI. Truck drivers will be replaced. No one will own a car. Everyone will have a little app on their phone, and Uber or Lyft will show up because they will be able to say pretty, straight up, hey, if there aren't any humans driving cars, there won't be any accidents. And so, like 20, 30,000 people won't die and 100,000 people won't, get really badly hurt in car crashes. So that'd be good. But it'll control, traffic, meaning if Mr. Lyft and Mr. Uber don't want to pick you up, you're not going anywhere. So that's the hidden hands agenda. That's what the New World Order. That's what Orwell's, 1984 was about. The question is, what do you want in a world? So what do you guys think? Hi, how are you? I'm getting better and better. That's why I am. And my plans are to work. That's good. Taking a break at a condo in New Jersey. Not right now, but in about 2 weeks. Controlled substance. So we can get rid of the old Federal Reserve. Well, we won't even have money basically your face will be, everything will be credit. Meaning, and if you're a good person, if you're a good citizen, you'll be able to get your little dog biscuit. But I'm trying to work out, I've been talking about this alternative aesthetic for a long time. And, that's what I'm working on, and that's what I go to the library and write about. And I've been studying branding because pretty much every company and country is going to collapse. And we're going to go into a new brand of the New World Order. And if the general populace won't go along, which I think they will, because I'm pretty much, the majority of the population is addicted to comfort and their belief. So, everyone, I listen to people tell me their belief, and that's, to them, that's what's happening. They know because they believe in that. Meaning, I don't know anything. And the other thing is control. I'm not a big control freak. I was. I can be. I have been, but the more I wore, I'm going to turn this light on. I should light me up a little better. Yeah, I look a little better there. Anyway, it's really interesting as I watch people who have a tremendous amount of stuff, and they have their health, they're young, they look good, they're well educated, they got a lot of money, they got a nice house, they got cars, they got stuff, they can disposable income. They can worry about how this looks or that. Meaning, I can't. I'm happy to have a clean T-shirt. I had no teeth, so I can't really eat anything. I have to kind of blend it or make. They feel. There's this great psychologist. My favorite. There's Freud. Everything's sex. There's Jung. Everything's the collective unconscious. And there's this guy, he's French, Leconte, who basically says, whenever anyone blames you, it's your fault, you're selfish, you're this, you're that, they're basically talking about themselves, And we all do this, it's not like anyone's to blame, really there is to blame anything. So, I've worked in a lot of hospitals in many different situations. I was I worked in a VA hospital, and I got in there basically as a bedpan guy. Meaning, when my 70-ish, I kind of stayed out of the way of my draft board. Once I left college, because, my high school was more of a college than college. And all the kids in the college I went to, Hofstra University, were like, the first semester was okay, but, I was working in theaters in New York, and my teachers were jealous of, why are you here? You got the job I wish I had, and I'm teaching. And they would blame me. It was, their life sucked because I had a pretty good life, And I could have stayed in that college. But Hofstra is a very weird school. It's like a big highway went right through it. And is mostly people, commuted there. And I boarded there. And it was like, it was, and I had a girlfriend, and then we didn't break up. She just, it's, you watch human beings do things to themselves, and then, you know, and what she would do is she had this older man in her life who knocked her up twice before I, we got hooked up. And we were just, you know, we were both in the theater department. She was the prettiest girl, really talented, really amazing. She knew like 9 languages. She had this thing. I mean, that's why she was such a great actress. She could just read the script once and bingo, know it, right? And then we'd work on it a little bit and she could be that character. So that's, she was truly amazing. And she was really smart. She was like me, a theater major, but she was also economics major and also international blah, blah major. Anyway, and that's why she liked me, because I was into all that stuff. And I came from New York, so we just jump on the Long Island Railroad, take a train into New York, and I take her to places. She liked that. So then and the guy would knock her up and then split from her. And so she came and said, "Oh, I need some help." And this was like before abortions were legal. Now, they were kind of legal in New York State and some other states. So I had been involved with social issues. So I kind of took her. And anyway, we became a boyfriend, girlfriend, but more like friends with benefits, because we just had the best of times. And there was a girl in our class who was, gay. And, people didn't come out, but she sure did. And we would, hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
Hi.
Here's John Birmingham. Amazing philanthropist, really generous guy. An amazing, look what he's done with an artist like you can't believe. He is the best. He really is. He's just so generous and kind and really a great guy.
Where you get this fan over here? Or?
Yeah, put it there to blow a little wind on me. But since I'm doing this, it would get the noise would get into the show, so I turned it off. But when I was watching TV, I was just, wanted a little breeze blowing on me, so I put the fan there. Is it okay that I put it there? Should I not have it there?
No.
Is it hurting anything? Am I, potentially making a mess? Am I doing something I shouldn't be doing? Is there something that I need to be blamed for?
No.
Other than I'm like trying to hurt you. Am I trying to? I'm sorry if I am.
If you hadn't rushed me to put the clear coat on the paint before it was like really dry or drier, I don't think that would have happened to my eyes at all. The chemical reaction that it had.
I thought it was the insects that bit you, John. And you told me it wasn't the chemicals; it was the mosquitoes, and that's why you got. How many bug bombs did you set off up there?
That was hardly any. That was like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I went downstairs or somewhere else. I went out somewhere and came back later.
And how long ago was that, John?
A while ago, but it lasted a long time on my eyes.
Well, your eyes are fine now, right?
Well, I've never seen them looking like that with the wrinkles and all that stuff.
Yeah. But you look fine now.
And you did the same thing one time. I asked you to get hair bleach because I was going to bleach my hair at Sally's Beauty Supply. I have never burned my skin like badly with it. And somehow the strong bleach that you got after you told me the story about that redheaded senator who bleached his hair blonde with chemicals and fucked up his skin because he was trying to be something he wasn't. Then you got me that strong bleach and it literally.
So what I did that on purpose. I did that malevolently to hurt you. I went out of my way. I mean, John, I have no idea. I've never bleached my hair ever.
I have never burned my skin like that, and all the times I've bleached and colored my hair.
Right. Well, then why didn't you go down and buy the bleach yourself? How come you didn't get in your car and drive down and buy what you knew to be the stuff you wanted? I did. You gave me, you wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I showed it to the lady. She gave me the stuff, and I brought it back, and that's all I did.
Did you choose the higher?
No. You wrote it down on a piece of paper. I handed her the paper. She gave me the stuff. Now I'm sorry, but I didn't do it malevolently to hurt you, And I went away for a whole month to the deep green while you were painting the floor. I didn't rush you at all.
You were going to go there anyway. You went to some guy's party, and then you went, and then you...
Right, because you're going to paint the floor. So I stayed there for a whole month, right? So, John, I do not, what I do is I try to be as good a friend as, most positive influence. I cook you meals.
But you don't pay rent at all. And I don't even really...
John, I
don't want the meals anymore that much. It's good to have them here and there. You just made me some food. It tasted pretty good, but I prefer making my own food.
Fine, then make your own food and don't give me any money to buy food. Not a problem. But I don't even know what to say, John. I don't even know what to say.
Organic food from the Nature's Organic store.
Yeah.
It's good to get the other stuff sometimes, but when it's been so long eating that same, or not, the stuff that you would cook or just leaving from
vegetables, fish, and chicken. Pretty much is what I and I bought you.
To get the types of
and I bought you a ton of fruit. I bought you 200 bananas and
I hate those. I got so sick of those mainstream grocery store bananas. They were so gross, and they have so many carbs. When I was first getting into that diet, I thought it was cool you could have bananas, but they're high in carbs. And it's still a fruit, so you can kind of eat a lot of them, but still it's carbs. It's pretty heavy in carbs. So I just don't prefer eating bananas as much. And you kept getting bananas a lot because you knew that, it's like every time you go to the grocery store, you get all these bananas.
That's what you asked for. I got what you wanted. Chicken. I bought a bunch of chicken. Well, then I stopped buying them.
You won't buy organic food. I gave you money to get all organic groceries.
John,
you got these cheap ass oranges from the messed up bin in the regular grocery store and put them in an old Nature's.
No, I bought those, John. I bought those.
You pretended they came from.
I gave you the receipt. I showed you.
No, no. I looked at the number. It had 4 numbers on it instead of 5 or 6, which defines if it's like an organic one versus a. I've looked up these things sometimes to make sure. I looked up the brand, and they're not an organic brand.
John, how long ago was that? Maybe 2 months. Maybe 3.
That was just an annoying thing. It's not that bad. I get regular groceries sometimes too, but it'd been so long since.
The difference in price between going to the co-op and buying.
And I don't need to keep paying you money to do things.
Then you don't have to. You don't have to. You could have gone and got your own packages today. But you wanted me to go get them.
It would save a lot of money if I wasn't paying you to do things, to get groceries and do
John,
things.
The amount of money you give me, and I buy groceries and I cook your meals and I do a lot of other things for you, is almost infinitesimal compared to what you spend on things you get from Amazon.
That's stuff to fix up this house. I don't spend on anything other than what I need. The only thing I spend
clothes, shirts.
What clothes? I wear the same clothes all the time.
Your shorts, your t-shirts, you get a lot of stuff from Amazon, John.
I rarely get stuff for myself. It's always something to survive or something to fix up my house.
Okay. So, John, not a problem.
I don't.
I believe you here to yourself. And I will not come back.
Well, that's too bad. But why don't you just get a job in town?
John, because
So you're closer to the medical stuff.
Well, from here. I'm pretty close. But John, the last 3 weeks,
And you also put a tremendous wear on the house.
I put a tremendous wear in the house.
Compared to most people.
Really?
You've been okay about the kitchen so far, but you still, I was cleaning it all the time after you were in here. But it's not that, I'm saying if you need to, it's hard for
John, don't worry. I won't be here.
Because like
You will be all by yourself, all alone.
Look at this fan.
Yes, look at it.
Look at it.
Yeah.
Look what's on the top of it.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
It's called dirt.
Like, I have to wash my hands. Like,
Oh,
I'm
then
sorry,
good. Wash your hands.
but I just,
Yeah.
I don't know what that stuff is.
It's called dirt. That fan is probably 15 years old. You know, it's been hanging out in this funky place, and now it's not funky. You have totally defunct this place. And like I said, I really appreciate your hospitality. Your generosity is amazing.
You're kind of though. You're supposedly a nice person. You're a nice person, but these days it's been a little difficult dealing with you because you've been under.
John, I had all the teeth ripped out of my head, and I didn't get upset. I didn't yell. I didn't blame you for my teeth. All I did was go to sleep. You know, I leave here at 7 a.m. or no later than 9, and I don't come back until 6. I don't really put a lot of wear and tear on the place. You know?
Well, you haven't been recently as much. But I still have to clean up messes after you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's an issue. It's like
It won't be an issue when I'm going, John.
you don't pay any rent.
John.
You're still another person that has like ups and downs and can be a jerk that I have to.
John, I do not. I don't blame you for anything, John. I don't yell at you. I listen to everything you have to say. You know, I sit here and you ask me because I'm your friend. I listen. I do my best to give you a perspective.
That was the other thing. You were supposed to. I gave you $240,
and I used $200 of it to buy food that you ate.
Spend that much? Not really.
Yes, John. Yes, John. Let's go get to the receipt.
But the whole purpose
Here's
of
the receipt.
was you were going to help me get off my medicine.
But John, I'm not a doctor. I can't
give me that.
No, what I was going to give you
advice.
Not that I was going to help you by being an example that you could follow, that you could, get.
Why are you taking receipts?
Because I'm showing them all the food that I've purchased for us, right?
Oh, great.
Right. So here's Kroger, right? And that this one was okay. This one was $68. You know, this one.
Racing thoughts.
John, because you went off your medication. You went off your medication.
But you were helping me get off the medicine.
No. A doctor would help you get off the medicine. I am not a doctor. You yourself. I didn't say, "Oh, John, stop taking your medicine."
I thought you were a therapist.
John, I am not a practicing therapist. Right? There's a big difference. And here's one that's. Was this the $200 one? $110, right? Here's another one that's this one was $68. You know, let's see. Here's another one that was $43. So, John, I spent all the money that you gave. And I bought the materials to do a little work for you, if I'm so annoying, I will not be here. It's not a problem.
I got him that laptop that he's on right now. I got him that laptop.
He did. I said, John's a really generous guy. Yeah. He's a good guy. Yep.
I get you to star in my videos on my page instead of myself.
No, John, you wanted me to be on them because thousands of people watched your videos when I was in them. When you do them, you get 100 or 200 people.
No, sometimes I get a lot more. Sometimes
Yeah, you're Ronald McDonald. How many did your Ronald McDonald get?
I know some of them get millions.
Yeah. So and that really great piece of art, how to paint your wheels. How many thousands did that one get?
It doesn't matter.
Or that really amazing, cathartic, human, important piece of art, how to light your pilot light. That was a really good one. You are a genius artist, John. You play music great. You're a drummer. You're a guitarist. You write songs. You write scripts. You've made 3 feature-length movies. You made that. What's that one you did? We Belong Together, or what was that one? That's really a good one. I like that one. I mean, you're John. If you were just to enjoy the life you have, John, you have a great life. You don't have to find other people to blame for something you don't even have to feel bad about.
How can I just magically make money appear so I don't have to?
John, you don't have to worry about money at this time.
But you're coughing because the doctor sprayed the stuff in your throat.
No. Basically, why I'm coughing is that kind of.
That's what you sounded like when you showed up.
No, that's what kicked it off when when the meth dentist in Tennessee took my one really terrible tooth out. He shot it with some intense jungle juice, and then he gave me some intense antibiotics. And that's what has really done a number on my chest, is that it killed every flora and fauna in my gut. So everything that was and my body is coming back. I'm much better than I was 2 weeks ago. But it's what it is, and I live with it, and I work with it, and I work to make it better. And I don't blame anyone. And I don't moan about it, and I don't put it in a laundry list where I go, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. Oh, I'm so depressed. Oh, I'm so upset. I want to kill myself.
Don't you think people have to be like worker ants sometimes?
John, we have...
Unfortunately.
No. We
have to work it.
We have a individual, yes, and I work, like today. What did I do today? I in the last few weeks, I've been attempting to get different groups together to do different social motifs, like working with people who are working towards, relieving gun violence, right? And I'm all these people who want to do that, and they all have different ideas how to do it. And all I do is talk to them.
You helped put this light in.
Right, I did do that. Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, sure you can.
Put this light
Yeah. I put a light fixture in, right? I am an electrician. I'm a really good electrician, but I am 70 years old, and I've been an electrician for 50 years. So I've worn out every joint in my body. I can't get, I'm gravitationally challenged. If I get down on that floor, I'm not getting up.
You lose a bunch of weight.
I am, John, I have no teeth. John, I have a fruit smoothie in the morning. I use my blender. Here's my $22 blender, and I make a smoothie in the morning, and then I basically have vegetables that I put in this one pot right here. So,
but
I boil the vegetables, and then I put it in in the blender, and I drink them. So I don't really eat any, cookies or bread.
When's the next time you have a doctor visit?
Early next week, and then I'm out of here.
The dentist?
Um,
Why? Because you're not you want it in privacy, like you're not getting.
well, that's that I get castigated and blamed and told that I'm worthless.
Up until right when I came up here, I was starting to think differently because I thought you caused my eyes to do that by rushing me to put the clear coat on before it was dry and there was still some wet paint on it that caused it. The CEO of the oil paint company told me that it was from a chemical reaction between the paint and the clear coat and the polyurethane.
And now I did this on purpose to make your eyes get hurt. I was Machiavellian and terrible, evil person who no.
And who cares if some little thing happens to them or something? They'll just bounce back or like, why should you have to suffer? And that's how sometimes these older people in my life are.
How are they, John? Tell me.
They don't have as much empathy for the struggles that I would have to go through. And it's like I have to overcome these things all on my own.
And what old timers? Just any old timer you see on the street? Why, John? I'm always here.
You, my parents.
No, John. I'm always here, supporting you, listening to everything, giving you. Who's the person who said, John?
She's not her.
I give you positive advice, positive reinforcement.
Not my parents, but people like that. Not necessarily my parents. But people of that age who I know in my life.
Well, who else do you know other than your parents and me who
I
are
don't want
old?
to call anyone out and say something against them on the thing.
Okay.
But they have empathy for others, but it seems like that generation, even Paul McCartney in his song, he has a new song out. Who cares? Or what he says, he says, who cares about you? Well, I do. But he leaves it alone and says, who cares about you? Because they don't want any responsibility anymore. They don't have to worry about their kids. They don't have anyone to worry about. So they're just doing whatever they feel like at their age. And it's like the younger people who have kids have to really make sure their kids are okay and make sure others that they care about are okay. And it's like when they get to that age, it's like, oh, who cares if somebody's messed up? Oh, that's funny. Or look at them, it's not me. Look, oh, they keep getting messed up. And it's like, it seems like a lot of people in my life in particular of that age do that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true in general because I don't know a lot of people of that age. But there's other people that I have talked to recently or just people of that age over the years, and it seems like they get to that age and they're tired of like having the moral responsibility of being so kind to others.
John, I have no problem. I'm just me, first off, and the me feels happy when others are happy. John, the bottom line is I get upset, not upset, but my heart hurts when I see you always just suffering when you don't have to suffer. You're a young man. You're well educated. You got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. You're a filmmaker. You're really talented. You got this amazing house. You got an amazing family who supports you.
Kind of.
No, they love you.
Kind of.
No, they don't kind of love you, John. They love you. They're always there for you. I got nobody, really. My family is kind of dead.
But you don't have to worry about them as much. I mean, it's horrible that they died. That's the thing. You might have to agree. But you don't have to worry about what happens to anyone around you that much.
I worry about you, John. I do my best. I'm always cooking you a meal. I'm always making you breakfast, making you dinner. Helping you out whenever I can, and I offer a lot of help. And you go, oh no, So
recently, I haven't been able to eat your food. I don't know why. It's been unappetizing to me for about a week.
Well, that's okay
I was
because
able to eat this, but near the end, it's like the other day, the meal you ate, I brought it up there and it was really good. It was really, really good. It was like a perfect restaurant meal and everything. And then I flipped over near the end of the meal. I flipped over the chicken breast.
it was a chicken leg, John. It was a chicken leg, and there was a chicken bone because it was a chicken leg.
It was just something very unappetizing looking to me.
Okay.
And it's like I couldn't get the thought out of my mind.
So you think I did that on purpose? That I somehow Machiavellingly went out of my way to pick a certain chicken leg that had a bone that was going to make you upset?
No, it was like a really ragged, long, skinny thing. It looked like a spine of some animal or something that was black and gray, and it was like I couldn't eat it after that. It was just gross. And then but I feel sorry for you because of the pain and suffering you've had to go through with the doctor visits and stuff.
Well, John, when I was in the deep green and when I got, started to get a toothache, I had no place to go. I had no real money. And I don't know, gang, if you've ever experienced dental pain. It's probably the worst pain there is. I've had a broken rib. I've been shot by a gun. I've broken my foot. I've broken my hand. I've broken my arm. I had a compound fracture of my leg where and the bone was sticking out. None were as painful as what I was feeling, right? So I could go, bang my head against a tree. But what did I do? It was a beautiful day. I sat in front of a dogwood tree. And what I really enjoyed this spring is that I've gotten to see spring happen 5 different times. First, downtown Roanoke, spring came around February. And then halfway between downtown Roanoke and here, spring came again. So when I would ride down the road, I'd see all the trees and everything. Then, third time, spring came up here, right? And right around Easter. And then I drove my buddy, whose name's Jesus, because he was born on Easter. I went to his birthday party this Easter, back in, I guess, end of April. And they live in a farm in West Virginia, and I saw spring again. And then I went to the deep.
I just feel as if you being here has caused me tremendous anxiety and worry just by you being here.
It's my fault.
Well, you were supposed to help me get off of my medicine, and I gave you $240 towards that.
And I spent $200 on food. I spent $200 on food that you ate.
And somehow you convinced me it's okay to have a little coffee, even though I was just going to quit it.
No, I said, no, John, sorry, I didn't say that. What I said is you shouldn't drink any coffee whatsoever. Coffee to you is like crack cocaine.
No, you said I can have some.
No, I didn't.
You poured some.
No.
That's ridiculous.
No.
You poured some.
Yes, no. This is how much coffee I had in a cup. Literally that much.
No, you
then I had made this much of a fruit smoothie, right? And I poured that in because I like the flavor of coffee in a smoothie. John said, "Oh, can I have some of that?" I said,
"Now you're you're telling it. First, you said, okay, make up your mind. Did you tell me to have no coffee at all, or did you tell me to act? You're gonna. I
told you that coffee was your crack cocaine, and you shouldn't drink any coffee. And I was making you teas, and I kept a pot right over here. This little device right here, as I still have tea in here for John, and it's chamomile and ginger. And I've been leaving a pot of this there now for at least since I got back, almost a month. And the main reason I came back here is that I have a dentist who, the guy in the deep green, pulled one tooth that cost $100. And I didn't have $100, so those 3 days I was in deadly pain, and I went throughout I took everything out of my car, and I found $130. Just exactly what I needed to A, get the tooth out, and B, get the antibiotics to kill it. And then C, put about $15 in my gas tank and get here. And then there's a place that's really good healthcare, and they took out 12 of my teeth for $40. So that's why I came back. So that's why I have no teeth. I said, screw it. I'm going to have no teeth whatsoever. But that one day when I was in excruciating pain, I meditated on watching a dog. It was like a little bud. And in 2 days, I watched it go from a little bud to grow up and have a flower. And then the leaves come out. And I spent 2.5 days the sun came up. I watched it. I meditated. And the pain went away. So that pain and that experience was a blessing, because it put me into a state, of letting things go. And being here is a great blessing because it assists me to let things go. And I've been trying to be that example for John. And that was the help I tried to give him, is to be an example of letting things go. Because as you can see, John cannot let things go. Because if he could,
a little too far watching a flower bud.
What do you mean too far?
Over 2 days.
Why is that too far?
Like sitting there for 2 days.
I had no money. I couldn't go anywhere, and I was, what would I do other than stay in the deep green and watch a dogwood? Why is it too far? Explain that to me, John. I'm very dense. I don't understand your.
Because the quality of life I've apparently found out from how the people showed up there and they didn't like it, they left and wouldn't stay there overnight. It's like very run down and almost not even a house.
It's rustic.
So why don't you just get a job and work somewhere so you can have your own place?
Well, I have my own place. It's very beautiful there.
It's closer to town.
Well, I like being. Why aren't you in town, John? You like being up here. Why? Why do you like being here?
It's close enough in town, but I could.
Why do you like being here, John?
I could be further.
Why do you like being here, John? Tell me why you like being here.
I just want to stay here.
Why?
I just love it here.
Why?
It's a special place that I found, and I'm supposed to live here.
Okay, so that's the deep green to me. It's really beautiful. It's really special.
Well, what about the medical care? Shouldn't you lose like?
John, I've kind of lost a lot of weight. I only eat, blended vegetables and fruits. I don't eat.
Weigh like
230.
230.
Yeah, I weigh 230.
240 or 50.
No, I'm losing weight. So
you don't like getting on the scale when I bring a scale down for you to stand on.
Well, because I'm not as driven by those things. The thing that's important to me is my blood pressure. It's like 106/60, and my blood sugar is around 85. These are the things
I think you could lose 70 pounds.
Yeah, I probably will. If I keep eating like I am right now, I'll definitely lose 70 pounds. But I'll lose it in the way that is a good way to lose it. A pound here, a pound there is, kind of what it is. And I spend my time trying to make others feel better. When I go to the library, the librarian allows me to have my own little
joints and all that. When you're walking around at 240 pounds or whatever it is, last time you got in the scale with your shoes and all your clothes, you were almost 250. That was like a couple months. You may have lost weight with a liquid diet or something. I don't know. But if you weighed that much, like 240 back then at least, that's like carrying around two like big heavy weights.
Well, John, I almost weighed 500 pounds. Right now, I'm at 240, so I'm almost 2/3 less than I was. So,
But if you get down to, see, even 180 or 190 is a little on the heavy side for not lifting weights.
John, I'm 70 years old. I've never lifted weights. I'll take that back. Back in the day when I was, the dude electrician, I didn't have a truck, and I had two big mail bags that I would carry about 40 pounds of tools in each one. So I'd walk around New York City, you know.
And you eat more frequently throughout the day, which keeps
No, I
muscle,
don't, John.
which
No,
keeps
no,
muscle.
John.
I mean, more often, not more.
John,
food,
I don't.
just
I
more
don't
often.
carry my blender with me. There's nothing
When
like
you
it.
wake up, you eat something, and
Yes, I make a fruit smoothie.
like, as soon as you wake up.
I mean, John, I don't understand why you have to find a reason to.
I'm saying that helps keep more muscle on. I know when I've eaten more food, I might weigh more, but it's easier to keep my muscle on.
John, I had muscles. These are muscles. They're okay. John, you're 42 years old.
No, I'm not.
How old are you?
I'm younger than that.
How old are you?
I don't want to say my age. It's really awful. I look better for my age than people usually do.
And that's what I'm saying, John. Why are you so focused on looking a certain way? Isn't it? I'm happy to be me. I'm happy. I'm my most happy when I make, like, I spent Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, came back Wednesday, right? And I have a friend of mine who, I'm basically a homeless guy. So I know a lot of homeless people. And this person is really a great person who tries to help other people all the time. So I went and stayed with them. And what I liked was that just my presence made those folks happy. And it's sad. It makes me sad when I try to share myself with John, and it seems to just make him anxious and upset. And he wants to blame me for, making his eyes big. And, I don't understand. Hey, Christopher, how you doing, buddy?
Maybe you could help do stuff around the house here and there, so it's like not too much.
Yep, John.
We'll get along better once I get back on my medicine.
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't know.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not getting any money out of you.
He's not getting any money out of me. I used to have the same kind of career. I used to go and live in people's houses and take care of them, cook their food, listen to them, help them. And I used to get paid $1,800 a week back when I was my healer self in New York City, when I had my alternative healing practice in 1975 and 76, early 77. And, I had my little temple of healing on top of the Pearl Street Power Plant on Pearl Street, which is just about a block and a half from Wall Street. And that was Thomas Alva Edison's first powerhouse. And, after a while, they didn't use it anymore. But that building became many warehouses and this and that. And then this real estate company bought it. And I used to work for an electric company
I've just been a little agitated for 2 days or 3 days because I went off that medicine and I'm switching to another medicine or however long. So I don't know how I'm going to feel. Hopefully we can have this happy-go-lucky times that we were having before, and everything will be good again.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to see how it goes once the medicine gets more in my system again. It makes me like not as agitated, but all these different things happen.
But don't you think the agitation of today was more those men who worked around here? That set you up.
Kind of was too.
Yeah, that kind of set you up.
I'm just gonna go upstairs. Okay, bye.
Okay. Anyway, let's see, how long we've been on? 50 minutes. And I started out this discussion talking about my observations of where the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be, where they're trying to take us, right? And that we're in this window of 18 months, and it's really, I've been talking about the 18-month window now for like 6 months, but it really is now. It's now like, hit the stopwatch, because like from now until November 8th, when we have our next, in 2020, have our next presidential election, it is 18 months, right? So I want you to observe and see how, the present experience of the canary in the coal mine, because no matter what I do, he wants chicken. Okay, I bought tons of chicken. Oh, want bananas. I bought a ton of bananas, And every nickel he gave me, I spent on food or getting stuff for him, because he never goes down, right? And, I went and picked up a ton of packages that were heavy, and I had to carry them from the post office and put them in the car, and they didn't fit. And, so I do, my darndest to make the canaries' life better. But I'm at this point where I'm going to go back out to the deep green, because my medical thing is, kind of good. And the other things that I've been helping other people with, I've done a lot of research, and I've been writing things, proposition papers for them. And I'll probably be done, not totally done, but the first, whenever you do a project, there are phases. And so phase one, and then now they have to go up. I can give them advice. I can give them strategies. I can give them, I write these white papers about things, and their projects, whether it's reorganizing city and county government, or environmental issues, or strategies on certain businesses. So a few people have come to me, and I've helped them out. And so phase one is done, and depending on the next two, Monday, Tuesday of next week, if I get all the okays from the last of my doctors, I will, take off, and leave John to his own devices, and I don't tell John to do anything, because you can't, and in essence, you can't tell anybody anything. And that's one reason I stopped being, the psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic dude. Now those are perspectives I use, but I'm now more the shaman alchemist. And the alchemy is not mixing potions. You guys of the cadre and the chorus and the shock troops of love's co-creation, that you're the alchemy I'm working on here. And John too. But John is, John has a laundry list that he just kind of goes on. And just, you saw it right there. And that's why I kind of, and because it helps. He was heading up, and I didn't want him to get, But we all have that in us, We all do, And, the blame game is a waste of time. Just as I said, Kant always says, when you go, it's your fault. You really, when you are pointing one finger at someone, there are three pointing back at you, right? So John Boy, he's my friend, I really, really care about him. I want him to be happy. Everything I do around him is to make him happy. And I think if you were to look at the last 50 minutes or so of our little interpersonal thing there, I just tried to, keep pulling him back to get a perspective that isn't one where because again, when he's blaming me for all this stuff, it's really what's sad is he blames himself. He really tears himself apart, right? And the first person we have to forgive is ourselves. And then we have to forgive the other folk. Because, I could blame my parents and I could blame a lot of people. I hear people going on, well, people picked on me when I was in school. They called me fat and I had pimples. Well, no, if you want to talk about that, when I was in a seminary, for a year until my godfather, the cardinal, got me out of there, I was being beaten up. I was beaten up so bad. They tied me to sprinkler pipes and beat me with 2x4s and baseball bats. Broke my ribs and broke toes. And if you're gonna break any bone, toes are really painful. Don't break your toes. And black eyes and black and blue all over it, and a number of times, not just once, a number of times. Well, I don't want to say I deserved it, but that was again a great blessing because I didn't die. Number one. Number two, I really, 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 really learned that you can't fight City Hall, but you can go over it. You can get above it. You can go around it. You can navigate. That freshman year in prep school taught me how to navigate the social seas, how to be a good diplomat, how to be a good politician, and that comes from never blaming other people. I was in a place in Connecticut called Canterbury in New Milford, Connecticut. And I went there in 1964 as a freshman. And it was a really interesting school because it was this Catholic boot camp per se. And if you're going to be a priest, you were Catholic. If you're going to be a Catholic military man, you wore a uniform. They had the ROTC. And if you're going to be a Catholic corporate guy, you wore a three-piece suit. So I was going there to be a rocket scientist for the Pope. And the cassock was great. And that's why I wear my pajamas all the time today, because wearing a cassock was like wearing, I'd be naked underneath that black thing with all those little buttons, right? And I would just throw it over my head like a dress, right? And I'd run around. I didn't have to get all dressed up. I didn't have to wear a suit. I didn't have to wear a uniform. I just throw this thing on. So, and I knew Latin, so I could say the Mass. So, of course, I was the guy that had to do that. We had a morning Mass, right? So I, at 6 a.m, would have to get up. I'd have to run down first to the kitchen because I was being punished all the time. So when you were punished, you either worked in the kitchen, worked as a waiter, or worked in the farm. And I was such a, as the dean of discipline, this, Jesuit, sick motherfucking guy had polio. He's a little worm. And the seniors, a friend of mine went up on the senior patio and they grabbed him, and that guy beat him with his cane. And then the boys went and got oil-based paint and ripped off his clothes and covered him in the color of our school, oil-based paint. And the guy almost died of, you know, skin asphyxiation. And they broke his leg too. He never was the same. So he never came back. So I said, motherfucking, I'm going to get these guys. So the first, and they had this thing in that seminary called bagging, which is an English prep school tradition, where the underclassmen, freshmen and sophomores, are slaves, virtual slaves, like batsmen to the seniors and juniors. And, you know, the only way you got through it was they said, well, you know, when you become a junior and senior, you can treat the underclass just like we're treating you. And, you know, it was a sick thing. And I said, fuck this. I don't want this. I'm fighting this. So first thing I did was, you know, so my freshman class was, you know, we had about 800 in that school. And our freshman class was 360 guys, right? Now, me and a few other guys, we were like little peanuts, but there were some freshmen who were more manly. Anyway, we were all being treated really bad. And so it was like Hogwarts. I mean, the place really does look like Hogwarts. And so we, in our dorms, you know, our dormitory, the ground floor was the dining hall and the kitchen, right? And the common room. And then there were 6 other floors, and just this spirally staircase that went up to them. And on each floor around, there was like, you know, the staircase went around, and there was a thing that went around the staircase, and it shot out in 4 different directions on each floor. It was like a long hallway, but that hallway in itself was kind of like a common room. And off of that were these big rooms that there were 5 or 6 beds. And so, you know, I didn't get my own room. I didn't even have a roommate. I had like 4 other roommates. And on our floor, our freshman floor, we were, you know, we weren't the rich guys. We weren't the cool guys. We weren't the preppy guys. We weren't the guys whose family had gone to that school forever. We were the guys who were kind of put there because we had somebody like, so I had a friend of mine, his grandfather was General Bradley, right, of World War II. And, you know, he was going to be, you know, everyone in his family was a general. So but he was a poet and a painter, but, you know, he was wearing the uniform, right? And then there was Igo, who was this guy about 4 foot high, who had glasses that thick. So I was Mr. Physics. I mean, we were 2 freshmen taking advanced math and advanced physics, right? Because we were smarter than any of the seniors or juniors in those courses. And we were put there in that school, like, to be the rocket scientist for the Pope. And we were both in the priest realm. Then there were 2 guys, right? One was Polish, and the other guy was Norway, or I mean, they were as white as you could get, white Catholic as you could get. But it was amazing. So when we all showed up, and we're in this kind of big room, we kind of bonded in the most strangest of, like, none of us, there were 6 of us, 8 of us. And none of it was on the odd man out. We were like a crew. I mean, we're just a crew. And everyone had a special talent or passion about stuff. And we were all kind of artists in our own way, you know. Brad, he, you know, painted and wrote poetry. Igo was he was a poet in math. I mean, this kid was like touring, right? The computer guy. And so he had glasses because he had been reading books on math and physics since he was like an infant. And he had Turing wrote two amazing books, one about cybernetics and one about how human beings were a biologic computer. And those two books, Turing's two books, they are basically coming. He wrote them in 47. And Igo was reading those, and he go, yeah, once we kind of realized we were simpatico, he was teaching me that stuff, and we were, what was that, 14, I guess, so maybe 13. Anyway, so Igo, me, this one guy, his father came to visit him, and I don't know what his father did, but he somehow found a guitar. And for some reason, he thought his son would like it. His son never played an instrument, had no real interest in that. And he gave it to and I took the guitar, and he started to play the guitar, the first time he had it in his hands, he could play the freaking guitar. And he was starting to cry. And his bromance guy started to cry too. He goes, let me try. And these two guys, like the instant they put the guitar in their hand, they could play. It was amazing, right? Now, we were allowed to go downtown. It's just like Hogwarts. There was this part of Bridgeton. No. Is it called? No, not Bridgeton. What did I say? It was Canterbury's and New Milford. And there was a littler town near this place that was a little, hamlet that had, candy store, comic book store, a soda fountain, and a kind of druggy, not druggy, but drugstore that had all kinds of stuff, that you need at a school, Band-Aids, pencils, whatever. For some reason, our school didn't have a common, something like, so that school was given, our boys can come down here and get over the, so they were told what we kind of needed and they had it. And other stuff we like they had record players and records, And so one of those boys bought a record player, and there was an antique, like a curiosity shop. We went in there and they found these 78s of old black Southern, blues, right? And they took it, and within a week, these two guys turned into black old blues players. And in that curiosity set, they found a guitar, a violin, and a banjo, and a tambourine. And they were amazing. Like within 2 weeks, then they started looking like the blues. This is way before the movie The Blues Brothers, but they were black pants and a white shirt, black tie, and a black jacket, and black hats and sunglasses. It was like, and by Thanksgiving, these guys were amazing. So good, when the seniors would have teas where the girls would come over, they would turn all the lights down, and these two guys would play blues, so the horny boys could dance slow with the Catholic girls, and and have sex, in the shadows there. And if you ever heard, Billy Joel's song about Catholic girls, and these girls were it. They were from our sister school. So this crew of 8, and the TV show Mission Impossible started, and so was Kung Fu. And our two shows that we could watch, that was our turn, that we could, in our dorm building, we could watch Mission Impossible and Kung Fu. We were all, each of those little places of dormy rooms, we didn't have our own TV. There was one TV down in the commons room, but they allowed there was like a list, we could only watch TV between, 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. each night. And you could, each group could choose a show, and so each of those rooms And you kind of had to, it's like politics. We had to kind of, find out what other of our little dorm roomy guys wanted to watch the same show so we could vote. And that was one fair thing that the freshmen had. And we did it amongst ourselves. And so we got to watch Mission Impossible. The 3 shows that we watched were Mission Impossible and Kung Fu, right? So, and we really got into Mission Impossible. So we were the Impossible Mission Force, right? And we did all kinds of crazy little, there was a big force. We built ourselves a fort and we played Impossible Mission games. Anyway, so, and we weren't sports guys at all, and this is a place where, fall, and it's like being in the Army. And this guy comes around, and in the fall there was soccer, and there was football, and there was hockey, right? And hockey, they didn't start playing until the winter, but if you were going to play hockey, they had a hockey rink that they could have ice all year long. So they started, because that was the sport they were really, really, really freaking good on. And so this guy, you're going to play football. You're big boned, And I said, no, I don't like football. I don't want to play football. You're going to play football. So they gave me a helmet and pads, and I would go out there and I'd just not do anything. They'd all be doing jumping jacks and shit like that, and I just would sit on the ground, and they'd yell at me and scream at me, and I would just ignore them. And that's when this guy's got a bad attitude. So when my friend got beat up by the seniors and painted blue, we were already the Impossible Mission Force, and he was 5th. It was James Patrick, and he had red hair and freckles. He looked just like the guy in Harry Potter and Ron. And he, like I said, he nearly died and never came back, right? And those boys did not get any punishment because it's part of the tradition. No, it's called hazing. Anyway, we were like, no, this cannot stand. And other kids in other dormitory, crews were beat up and picked on and, bullied. And so when we would come together as, 360 guys watching TV, one of these evenings, I turned the TV, and there was no teachers there. I turned off the TV. I said, listen, nobody wants to watch this right now. So there's 360 of us. There are 42 seniors. That's like, 5 of us for every one of them. Why don't we go to the gym? And they had those little, they look like pins, that you juggle. I don't know why they have these pinning things, wooden pin things, but they had a whole wall of these pin things and baseball bats. I said, well, I'm going to go to the gym, get those things. We will assign 5 freshmen to each senior. We will set our watches. We will sneak in there at 1 a.m. and at, 1 a.m. 2 minutes, we will proceed, all of us, we'll get around each senior's bed, be quiet, don't wake them up, and start beating the crap out of them. We should be able to do this, for 5th. And for us, they'll leave us alone then, We will step up to their violence. Again, this is where I learned violence. It took me a year to learn this, but violence, you can never stop violence with violence. Anyway, so everyone says, you're right, let's do this. So we kind of break down into groups, assign, 5 kids to each senior. We, go, because we had to clean their shoes and do their boots and all that kind of, we were their slaves. So we, go in the senior dorm, see which doors are open, figure out, we strategize. And of course, I and, Bradley, who's, got the military gene in him. I mean, he wasn't wanted to be a painter, but he was really good at this. I mean, he really was his grandfather's son. Anyway, so because he had been around it and been, he'd gone to West Point and driven tanks and stuff as a little kid. And he and I kind of bonded because my dad was in the Air Force and I did similar things with airplanes. So we all tiptoe into the senior dorm and we're all around our seniors and we're all waiting and we're looking at our watches and we hear a scream and a crash and then they fire alarm, which is hit them with baseball bats and these wooden pins. But once they're awake, they could push the five of us out of the way or grab us or punch us because these guys were big and they were mean and they were vicious. They didn't think twice. What happened was that one group couldn't set their watch right. So they started hitting their senior about five, half the guys weren't even in the room with their senior. These guys started, and they were hitting him like, ooh, 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 instead of, and it did not turn out well. Those 40-something seniors, threw, and, it's a 5-6 story building. Kids were thrown out of windows. About 40 of us ended up in the hospital, right? And $100,000, and this is 1964, $100,000 worth of damages because the sprinklers went off and it's flooding and windows broken, things smashed and people thrown through. I have this thing in me where I can run faster than anybody for about 100 yards. And then my connection is unstable. Is that... Anyway, so I got blamed for that, and so I got punished. I was made to work in the kitchen. So I went in there, and these guys were actual slaves. They were indentured servants. They had been there for 4 generations. The kids couldn't get out because the school, paid them like 20 cents a day, but charged them rent for their apartments, just like me being here. I'm an indentured servant here, right? But John's a lot nicer than that Catholic school was to these people. And their derogatory name was Wombat. So I worked there, and these are nice people. I liked them. And I had to get up every morning and go down there and set certain things up, and then run over to the church and throw my cassock on and be an altar boy, and then run back and cook more, and then wait, because I kept doing wrong things. So first I worked in the kitchen, then they made me wait, and they had waiters that you didn't eat with the table. They had a thing you waited, and then you had time to eat at a table, but then there were these things called waiters. So I worked in the kitchen. I was a waiter, and I was also a waiter's waiter. And so the guy who was my nemesis was this, Jesuit priest, this wormy guy, and he had polio, so he was all bent up and right. And after he, he was there when my friend Fitz got beat up by the seniors and painted. So why do we paint him? And he's a grown up. He's not, but no, he's getting off on this. And then when we complained, that's when I got made to be a waiter, and he was a really obnoxious guy, and he ran the kitchen and the dining room, right? And so he made me a waiter. And what I did was I found in the linen closet, these guys just kind of wore dirty gray jackets. I found a whole bunch of these beautifully starched, whiter than white waiter's jackets, right? So I put a little piece of black tape under my nose, and I put on this white thing and I buttoned it up. And these guys would be carrying the trays around like this. I carried around like a French waiter. I was like, I was being Pepe Le Pew, the waiter, and I would run around and be the best waiter there. So being the best waiter there, I waited for the head table of the headmaster and all the master teachers, and I was like, gave them the best cut, the best food, the best service. Always had people who run the place. Now this Jesuit guy, he never sat. He ran the kitchen, he ran the dining room. They didn't eat that on that table, right? He had his own little over in the corner, like the kids' table. Anyway, so he would get really upset with me, being nice to the folk, and ingratiating myself with the higher rank. He said, "You shouldn't do this. You're ingratiating yourself with people above you." And he didn't like the fact that my godfather was a cardinal, right? Anyway, so when we basically tried to get at the seniors, again, I got blamed. So that's when I got beat up, right? And ended up in the hospital. And my parents were in Europe, and they were actually visiting the Pope. And that's, my mom was like, she and the Pope were like this. So, I got a hold of my father in Europe. I said, "Dad, I'm in the hospital. I gave him the whole story. Get me out of here." And he goes, "No, your mother wants you there. And anyway, this is good for you. Tough it out. I've got a broken ribs and broken toes." And he's saying, "Tough it out." So I come out of this and I get a respite because I can't really walk, right? So until my feet get better, I feel them, but it didn't. Anyway, so I got these casts on my feet, and I sneak into this sick Jesuit priest's apartment. I pick his lock and I go in, and in his closet he has all these canes because he's got polio. And I have a diamond saw, and I cut all of the canes in 2 or 3 pieces, and then I stick them back together I drill holes and put toothpicks in and connect them together with super glue. I got these casts on my feet, and I sneak into this sick Jesuit priest's apartment. I pick his lock and I go in, and in his closet he has all these canes because he's got polio. And I have a diamond saw, and I cut all of the canes in 2 or 3 pieces, and then I stick them back together I drill holes and put toothpicks in and connect them together with super glue. And then I sand them up, and then I stain them, and then I kind of wax them, and then I kind of beat them up so they look like when I took them out of the closet. You couldn't tell that I'd done this. And so he gets a cane, and he's walking down, and these canes were fine when he's walking on a flat surface. But when he used his cane to go down the steps, it put twice the amount of load on where I had cut them, and they would snap. And he down these staircases. And I did it to him, and then be a waiter's waiter, so I hardly ate anything. And I was put in the farm, taking care of the cows and the goats and the sheep. And I really liked cows. They were like big dogs. And goats were kind of fun, And the thing about take care of the animals very well. He didn't really hurt. He wasn't like mean or vicious or anything. And I would muck their thing out, and I would clean that place up. And there's an OCD part of me, especially when I see the value of doing it. But there's this Aquarian part of me that if it doesn't need to be done, I can overlook it, right? I'm very good at doing things that need to be done and take care of it and do it really high level, right? Just like me being the waiter or me working the kitchen, right? Love me. And I would bring vegetables from the kitchen, stuff that was going punk. I said, I'm going to take these. And I would take them to the animals and I'd feed them to them. And the thing, all the animals like this, I would brush them down, especially the cows. The cows love the fact I would brush them down, and that I would milk them, because when they get kind of full of milk, it's like, oh, and they can't milk themselves. It's like, oh, I'm going to explode. It was really good. I had lists of when they were last, I mucked out their things so they were really comfy and got, hay there all the time. Anyway, I just took real good care. And I basically, there was a paddock that was fucked up, so they never used it. I basically stuck it back together with this stuff, pallets and stuff, so the animals couldn't escape. And they had put some fencing around. And when the guys were doing that, I said, hey, you got any extra of that? So I made a big paddock. There was a big paddock, and then I kind of split it up into 3 parts. And their little shit. And they were like, I really love these guys. And so so there was just do something to me. I did something, he did something to me. It was just tit for tat. And of course, I would get the worst of the wear. But watching them fall down 3 staircases, and that's okay. Because the way those staircases were, there were a lot of staircases that blah, blah, blah. And then there's classrooms. He had to go up and down those things. And they were like in one, there would be 3 floors. And instead of going bing, 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 they just kind of went straight down. And I saw him once take it 3 floors all the way down. They had to get an ambulance and take him away. And he's like cursing my name. And then I wired they put in a new building, a new classroom building with really great. It was like a scientist for the Pope. And I basically when the what's the company that does that? And they when they did that building, they redid the whole school. They put new fires, detection and horns and bells to, get us to go do things. Everything in that school was done by bells. So anyway, I was there watching. I was already an electrician, a really good electrician. I would hang out with these guys, look at their blueprints. And I found where they were running the wires between the buildings, right? And what voltage it was on and what set the, system off. And so the best 2 buildings, the senior building and the building that all the priests were in, that the circuit kind of passed, that with the bells passed through their fire alarms, right? So, but they worked on 2 different voltages. One was 12, one was 24 volts. So, but if you did the bell thing on the 24 volt voltage, it would building and the priest building. And so I waited. I figured out where I was going to put my little device, and the cable kind of went between the 2. And so there was a place where it's like he ran the wire, and it was like, oh wow, I should have ran it in one piece. So he just kind of put a little junction box, connected the wires together, and buried it. And when he did that, when I saw him do that, I like put a little pile of rocks on top of that box, and I waited until the snow started. And the first night, the night before, full moon, before the next day, like at 10 in the morning, supposed to back gear on, and I had made my little device, and I went over where that pile of rocks were, and I dug up that wire, and I just connected to it. And I had a 24 volt truck battery from the farm, and they had tractors and other equipment, and they were big diesel motors, so they had 24 volt batteries to start them up. And they had some brand new ones there, and so I said, So I took one of the, no one would have realized this wasn't that one. And I went and buried it down there with my little gizmo and hooked it up. And I set the bells to go off. It would just keep going, every between 1:30 and I had a little clock there, 1:30 start, 3:30 turn itself off. And so, I do it and put it in there. So it's like the end of the cycle. So I kind of cover the dirt up, I did that, and it was right in a place where there were no trees, 10, 12 inches. And up there, we were kind of north Connecticut. And once it started snowing, it just kept snowing and kept getting colder and colder and colder. So, it snowed, then it got cold, and it turned that whole 10 inches turned into a block of ice. And then it snowed again, and it snowed again. Anyway, every night from, I guess it was before Christmas holiday, the bells went off every night. And they went off from November or whenever that was until the battery died in May. May 1st, early May. And everybody couldn't get any sleep. And it was really great because a loud horn would go up. So the senior class actually did worse on their college boards than any other school, right? And and I just took it to end the guy, I never got caught doing any of this, right? And what was great was for Christmas, for 2 weeks, and we came back, and they went and got they said, well, it's got to be the guys who rewired, they did something wrong. Guys who came back and they couldn't figure it out. They just couldn't fucking figure it out. And they didn't stick, they went and looked at everything and they looked at all the plants and but they didn't stick on, the one thing they had stayed there, have to go in the dark out in the snow, going from point to point. I could have figured it out, but no one did that. So in the 2 weeks that they had those guys, and he goes, you did this. I can't see any light. Never bothered me, the horns, because the bell near we didn't have a bell in our little room, the bell was, so anyway, so I did a lot more things. And one of the things I did, the parents' weekend in the springtime, and when that one I had my fellow cooking